With HTML5 video, we also have a new powerful JavaScript API to the video that, among other things, allows us to build our own controls. This can be useful if you want the video controls to look the same across browsers. So that's what we're going to do now. What we're going to end up with is this here. It's a very simple set of controls meant to give you an intro to the JavaScript API. And then you can run with this from here, adding styles or images to make it look great. If you're interested in some of the other functions available in the video API, a good place to look is the video element page on the WhatWG site. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Firefox, and the player we're building has some pretty basic functionality. It's got play and pause. The blue bar is going to show how much of the video has been loaded. The green bar is going to show us how far through the video we are. Then it also has the current time of the video and then the total duration of the video. All right, so that's what we're building. Now let's go over to our code and see what we're starting with. If you're following along in the exercise files, we're now in the 5-01 folder of the exercise files. And what I have here is basically a scaled back version of our HTML page. It's just a basic HTML page to make it easier to get to the code and work with the code. In the HTML, I've included first jQuery, which is going to make it easier to work with the basic JavaScript functions. And then I've also included a JavaScript library and a CSS library that's going to apply directly to our player. And we'll look at that in a second. In the body of the page, I also have our video tag, but without any of the more complicated fallback content, which we don't need for this demonstration, but you should still have in your final version. And then I've also modified the video tag a little. First, I've added an ID of my_video so that we can reference our video tag using JavaScript. And then I've also removed the controls element. Remember before we had a controls attribute inside the video tag, and I've removed that because we're going to be building our own controls. All right, let's go over and look at the JavaScript. All right, so in the JavaScript file, I've started everything in a jQuery DOM ready block, which is what you see here. And what that does is basically make sure that our JavaScript doesn't run until all the elements we want to work with are ready in the browser. And then inside the block, I have first a test to see if HTML5 video is supported, which is this line here. And what it's basically doing is creating a video element, so saying document create element, and then on that element, it's checking for the canPlay type method. And if that method is supported, it means that HTML5 video is supported. Otherwise, it's not. And then in the front of this line, I also have an exclamation point, which means the opposite of the outcome of the line. So it's basically asking if HTML5 video is not supported, and then it goes down, and we can see that if HTML5 isn't supported, I'm using jQuery first to reference our video controls, which have the ID of video_controls, and then hide. So we're hiding the controls if HTML5 video isn't supported, because in that case, Flash would be showing and would have its own set of controls. So we don't want to also see the controls we're building now. Then finally, I have a variable that's going to store reference to our video tag. And so I'm using the document.getElementById function, and then the my_video ID that we put on the video tag. And so now in the rest of our JavaScript, the video variable is going to reference our video tag. Okay, now let's go look at the CSS file. And in the CSS file, I just have some basic styles around the controller. I've made it 480 pixels wide, so it's the same width as our video. And it has a height of 30 pixels. And I put a gray background on it. And the text color is going to be white, with Verdana as the font size of 12 pixels, and then all the text is going to be uppercase. And then the controls inside the video controls div, each individual control, I've basically added a style to float them left, so they're going to be in line horizontally. And they'll have a height of 30 pixels and then a line height of 30 pixels to kind of enforce that font size and line the font size right in the middle of the button. Okay, so that's our starting point, and now we can start creating the controls.